Having a low self-esteem can have a huge effect on our lives and relationships, especially when we find coping mechanisms that aren't always healthy, such as the dependency on alcohol. Here to discuss the profound impact that alcoholism has is relationship therapist and life coach Samantha Adams. Now, Samantha, it's a very sensitive topic, especially in South Africa, where the numbers and the statistics on alcoholism is actually scary. But what does alcoholism and self-esteem, what's that correlation between the two?
Well, I think that there is a correlation and definitely impacts the other one. You know, if we have a low self-esteem, we then tend to, go to other things to boost ourselves up a bit and make us feel better about ourselves. And that's where the abuse of alcohol, substance abuse comes in. Domestic violence as well is rife in South Africa especially. So all of those things definitely play a huge role.
But then what are some of those signs and symptoms one must look out for? Because look, there is drinking alcohol just to cope, take the edge off after a hard day. Then there's alcohol dependency, and then there's full-blown alcoholism. And each stage looks different.
Yes, 100%. So I think the first stage is, someone's just having a casual drink that increases over time. You find yourself having a drink early in the morning and sometimes late at night, or also having a drink, in secret. That's a sure sign that somebody is heading towards that codependency on alcohol.
It is a very scary thing to kind of look at and approach, especially when a lot of people think, I've got it under control. I've got this. It's not an issue just yet. And this naturally has an impact on family, friends, and your intimate relationships. How does that then look like?
Well, I think that actually leads into, especially with family, with your spouse, that could lead into arguments, it could lead into domestic violence, things could really escalate. Also, I think for your self-care, you tend to neglect your self-care. That's a sure sign of having an alcohol, disorder as well, or dependency rather. You tend to actually let go of yourself. You're not as fun as you used to be. You don't do the things that you used to do before. You don't find enjoyment in the everyday things that you used to do.
And what's so scary to me is a lot of people call it liquid courage. Today we're speaking about self-esteem and positive self-talk and positive self-image. But then when you're then in social settings, when you're with friends, family, and you call it that liquid courage, it gets me out of my box, my shy box. But then it can get a little bit too far, don't you think? It can go far.
Definitely, 100%, because, obviously having alcohol, you feel lighter, you feel a bit tipsy, you have more courage to interact socially. But then over time, you could actually drink and not realize your limit in that moment. You think you're okay, and then only after you realize maybe that, you don't have your normal senses that you had before. And your vision becomes impaired, driving home, becomes dangerous. So there's a danger aspect to it as well.
Well, to be fair, though, alcoholism is not the only coping mechanism that we experience and that we see in society. A lot of people have an addiction, or they look to social media and likes, followers, to be able to boost that self-esteem, to be like, well, online I'm a thing. People love me online, and they use that to feed into their self-esteem. There are so many other aspects and avenues in life that we see this reoccurring theme of just looking for that affirmation from the outside instead of speaking to yourself. You had a beautiful t-shirt on when you came into studio today, and it said, love is insight work. Tell us about that.
100%. And I think that rings so true, because love is actually an inside job. So, when it starts with yourself, your self-worth, your self-confidence, all of these things then lead to abuse or substance abuse, or just wanting that acceptance, from our peers. One of the things we also see a lot of is actually eating, overeating, because you feel so low in your self-esteem that I think us women tend to eat.
Emotional eating.
Emotional eating when we're stressed, or, when we're going through something hormonal maybe. It leads into that, and that then comes with its own difficult things. that we carry.
A very sensitive subject, but one that needs to be spoken about and one that needs to be tackled head on. Thank you so much, Samantha, for your time.
Only a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Catch up with you in a bit. Now remember, Mzansi, if you or someone you know is struggling with alcoholism or low self-esteem, reaching out for support is the first step towards healing. Whether it's through therapy, support groups, or other resources, know that help is available. But stay tuned, because after the break, we are going to teach you how to use positive affirmations to boost your self-esteem.